All right. Hello once again, friends. Anthony Florio back with you here again, here on the Tone 25, here on YouTube.com. Second video of the night. It is going to be my power rankings in the NFL for this week. So, this is our main event, our most heated and controversial segment of our show. And if you didn't see the Wrestling Forum this past Monday night, it may have been one of our most heated and controversial power rankings in the history of our power rankings segment. So, check that out on Derek Ferrera's channel. Um, that's where it is. So if you want to check it out once again, or if you want to relive all the mayhem from that power rankings on the Wrestling Forum, then we also had a very heated and controversial power segment on this show last week when we did our NFL rankings. So, but thankfully, it's just me here, so there'll be no criticism, no what from Derek Ferrera, or no Steve Harvey facial expressions all of the Family Feud. So I got free swing on this one. So I can't get criticized for any of my picks, unless they want to, challenge me on Facebook, which is fine. But it's my rankings, and I'm not going to change anything. So my power rankings, all I'm going to say is this is my story, and I'm going to stick to it. So that's all I'm going to say. So major shakeups in the rankings this week. Thought long and hard about these rankings this week. So with that said, I'm going to start it off with my number 10, and I might surprise you, I know, but I'm going to start it off at number 10, and I can't believe I'm doing this, but my number 10, believe it or not, is Michael Fletcher's team, the Miami Dolphins. I mean, two-game winning streak. They beat the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati, and then, of course, followed that up with a victory at home against the St. Louis Rams. And they are now one of four teams. All four teams in the AFC East are now tied at 3-3. Unreal. I mean, I never thought I'd see that. I thought the New England Patriots would have been blowing everybody's brains out in that division. I thought they'd be running away with it. I thought they would have been at least 5-1, possibly 6-0. But wow, I never thought they'd be 3-3. I never thought all four of those teams would be 3-3. Let's not kid ourselves. But Miami Dolphins. I mean, they've won two in a row. They're playing really good football as of late, and I gotta reward them for that based on their body of work. Um, they're on bye this week, but they will be going up against the New York Jets next Sunday at MetLife Stadium in a huge divisional matchup. And, winner could possibly get first place in the AFC East. So that's all I got to say. So with that said, number 10, Michael Fletcher's team, the Miami Dolphins. Number 9 this week, welcome back to the power rankings, the Denver Broncos. I mean, unreal what happened on Monday Night Football. If you didn't see it, they fell behind to the San Diego Chargers 24-0, and then in the second half score 35 unanswered points. I mean, who does that? I mean, Peyton Manning. This reminds me a lot of that game, that Monday Night Football game around this time 9 years ago, back in '03, when he was with the Indianapolis Colts against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Raymond James Stadium. Fell behind big. I think they fell behind like 21 points, like 35-14, and then they came back to win 38-35 in overtime. So not quite, not it was somewhat like that game, but because of the falling behind big and then the big comeback in the second half. But all in all, Peyton Manning, the last couple of weeks, he's been absolutely amazing. He's looking like the Peyton Manning of old, and you know what they say, once he gets going, he can't be stopped. 6'5" quarterback, 6'5", 240 pounds, laser rocket arm, and yeah, he's got that laser rocket arm. Thank you very much. So, I mean, if they keep doing what they're doing, I mean, they could be moving up. This week, I believe they are on bye this week, if I remember correctly. Yeah, they are. I think their next game is. I'm not sure when their next game is, to be honest with you, but what I do know is that the Denver Broncos are, you know, playing very good football as of late. I mean, they had that tough loss to New England some time ago. But that big win against San Diego, I mean, that's why I got to put them in there. I'd be crazy not to. But but all in all, I mean, this team right now, a lot of people made a big fuss over this team. They thought this team could be good. They could be a lot better than that team last year. The whole Tebow thing. Their next game will be next Sunday night on Sunday Night Football at home against Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints. And boy howdy, that has five-star shootout written all over it. So, but right now I gotta go. You know, they're on bye this week, but they will be against New Orleans. That could be a big game right there. So with that said, my number 9, the Denver Broncos. Number 8 on my rankings this week. I got to do it. I got to go with the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, huge win against the New England Patriots. Now, I know Derek Ferrero is going to go on a major rant tonight. Who knows? Maybe he might have gone on his rant already. I have not watched his videos yet, but I am kind of hoping he didn't go on that big Derek rant that he was going to go on. You know, that rant I told you about on my Facebook page after the forum the other night, where I said that, you know, his rant was going to be, you know, parental discretion advised, and, you know, put the women and children to bed, and it was going to be bullying Feel Ugly, and he was going to want a major rant about the Patriots, but we're talking about the Seabags here at number 8. Patriots, they're not even on my rankings this week. I gotta kick them out after that tough loss. I mean, they had that game well in hand. They had a 13-point lead in the fourth quarter, and then they choked it away. I mean, that's unacceptable and inexcusable right there. But you got to give it up for the Seattle Seahawks, man. I mean, they are so damn tough at CenturyLink Field. Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, Russell Wilson had a great game, and you know, that 40-yard bomb to Sidney Rice with about a minute and a half to go in the game, unreal. And huge win for the Seabags. I mean, if they keep this up, I mean, who knows? They could be on their way. But they did, however, lose to the 49ers last night in San Francisco, Thursday night. Doesn't count in this ranking because, you know, we don't count the Thursday night games per our tradition here. Tradition that I requested. I requested that we didn't count the Thursday games, and Derek honored that request, which I'm glad he did. So, however, next week, they will be taking a fall next week. There's no doubt about it. Hell, they may not even be on the rankings next week. But it depends on the body of work of all the games this week, of course. So with that said, for now, for this week only, my number 8, the Seattle Seahawks. Number 7, I'm sorry, I got to punish this team. They were my number 2 last week. I'm dropping them down to 7 this week. The San Francisco 49ers. I mean, they laid an absolute egg. They freaking laid an egg. They put up a dud performance against the Super Bowl champion Giants at home. I mean, that was a revenge game. They were supposed to get revenge against the Giants for that NFC Championship game, 5-star game. Oh, by the way, story for another day, but, you know, just my opinion. But, I mean, Alex Smith did not show up. I mean, let's face it, the whole team didn't even show up. The Giants, they did. And they not only did they show up, they kicked the door down and they made themselves at home at Candlestick Park last Sunday. Let's not kid ourselves. And because of that, the Giants are in my top 3. You'll find out where in a little bit. But, I mean, the Niners, oh, that was a terrible performance. And then last night, just as weak of a performance. However, that performance resulted in a win. And because of that, they will be moving up next week. They could be back in the top 5 next week, but it just depends on the body of work of the other teams and how they do. So with that said, my number 7 this week, the San Francisco 49ers. Let me see, where are we now? Number 6? Yes, number 6. I got to go with the Green Bay Packers. I mean, oof, my goodness. I mean, what a performance on Sunday Night Football against the previously unbeaten Houston Texans at Reliant Stadium. Aaron Rodgers went off. Over 300 yards and 6 touchdown passes, 3 of them to his go-to guy, Jordy Nelson. I mean, those 2 guys have literally beat the Houston Texans by themselves. I mean, of course, the defense had a hand in it. They flustered Matt Schaub, and they slowed down Arian Foster, and, you know, they flustered the receiving core as well, and all I can say was it was an all-around dominant performance by the Green Bay Packers, a performance we've been waiting for. I mean, after that, you know, that bad game they had some time ago, you know, after they had that collapse against the Indianapolis Colts in Indianapolis at Lucas Oil Stadium, you know, where they were up 21-3, and then they let Indy come all the way back and knock them off. I mean, that was unacceptable and inexcusable, and I had to punish them for that. But that performance right there, I mean, that's why I got to put them at number 6. I mean, if it wasn't for the body of work of the other teams, I would have had them much higher, but I can only put them at 6. But if they do you know, do what they do coming up on Sunday against St. Louis, if they keep doing what they're doing, they might move up, and depending on the body of work of the other teams, we'll have to wait and see. Maybe they'll move up into the top 5. You never know. But for right now, I got to put them at number 6. For now, it is the Green Bay Packers. Number 5, this is where I have the Houston Texans. I believe I had them at number 1 last week, but they went down to the Green Bay Packers. I still think they're a top 5 team. They are It was just their first loss of the season. Huge game against the Baltimore Ravens coming up. This is a game that they really need to win. I mean, if they can win this game, they'll definitely be back in the top 3. There's no question about it. Maybe even number 1, but you don't know. But all I can say is, Matt Schaub and Arian Foster, Andre Johnson, Kevin Walter, that defense, they really have to get it going, and they really have to, contain the Baltimore Ravens. They really, and with Ray Lewis and Ladarius Webb out, maybe they have a chance. But I still think Baltimore wins that game for some odd reason. But because they've had Houston's number over the years, so that's why I gotta go with them. But if Houston wins this game, they're definitely in the top 3. But if they lose this game, they're gonna be taking another hit. And not only are they gonna be out of the top 5, but who knows? They might be out of the rankings altogether. But all I know is they're gonna definitely take a hit next week if they lose. But if they win, they're back in the top 3, no question. But for right now, I gotta have them at number 5, the Houston Texans. Number 4, I know they didn't play last week, but I got to go with them anyway. The Chicago Bears. Another one-loss team. Their last performance was a 41-3 beatdown of the Jacksonville Jaguars, that dud team in Jacksonville at Everbank Field. Jay Cutler, huge game. The defense, a couple weeks ago, you remember they absolutely manhandled Tony Romo. Their last game against Jacksonville, they manhandled Blaine Gabbert and made his life hell, as you know. They made his day miserable. And it's because of that. I mean, that defense. And Monday night, they go up against their division rivals, the Detroit Lions, a classic case of offense versus defense. I think they're going to win this game. I mean, Stafford has been very disappointing this year, coming off that unbelievable performance he had last year, over 5,000 yards, and one of the main reasons why the Detroit Lions were a playoff team for the first time since 1999. But if they keep playing the way they do, they're not even going to be a playoff team. They did, however, get that big win against Philadelphia. They beat Chicago. Who knows? I might have them in there next week. You never know. But I can only have them as they're on the outside looking in Detroit. But that's where Chicago, one-loss team. They're going to win this game. I think Cutler, he's going to have another big game as long as he can keep his attitude and his nogness in check. Matt Forte, still looking for that breakout game from him. Of course, Brandon Marshall, Jay Cutler's BFF, as we all know from their days in Denver. And then, of course, the defense with Peppers and Urlacher. I mean, I don't know what else there is to say about that D, but, I got them at 4 for now, but if the other 3 teams I have ahead of them falter in any way, they might be in that top 3, but if they lose, they're taking a hit, there's no question. But for right now, they're number 4, they are the Chicago Bears. Number 3, I got to go with the Baltimore Ravens. You remember last week I went on a bit of a Tony rant last week, criticizing their performance against 2 dud teams in the Cleveland Browns and the Kansas City Chiefs, in which they won by a combined 9 points in those games, 23-17 against Cleveland, and that 9-6 dud against Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead, which I thought is the worst game of the year, a major dud. It was such a dud, it made that LSU-Alabama BCS title game look like a 5-star classic. Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, that was a terrible game, but they came out in full force. I mean, the offense showed up, the defense made some big plays against the Dallas Cowboys. Great game. Flacco, huge game. The defense stepped up big, and I was very impressed with their performance, and the performance was just good enough for me to put them in my top 3. But Houston this week on the radar, win here, they stay in the top 3. They lose, they go down. But for right now, my number 3, the Baltimore Ravens. Number 2, the Super Bowl champion New York Giants. I mean, I was debating on this one, I really was. But I got to put them at number 2 because of that 26-3 beatdown of San Francisco. Excuse me. They get the Redskins this week. I think they'll win that easy. Eli Manning's going to have a huge game, and that defense is going to shut down RG3. So I'll make it quick here. Giants are number 2. So obviously that means at number 1, only because they're undefeated. I thought about it. I got to go with the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, close win against the Raiders. They're on bye this week, and, we'll see what happens with them. But they're number 1. The Atlanta Falcons are my number 1 team for this week. All right, that'll do it for this video. Of course, join us Monday night for the Wrestling Forum, as we will have our review of Monday Night Raw episode 1013, as well as our news and views. And, of course, next Friday night, Strictly Sports presents Football Friday at 10:30. So, with that said, Anthony Floyo saying, you know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw it up Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, and have a great weekend, everybody. You've been watching The Tone 25 on YouTube.com.